And when I was 8, I can still remember where I was standing in our passageway, and I turned to my dad and I said, I think God's got a purpose for my life. In the beginning, it was really, really difficult. I would be happier to say I'm a priest rather than I'm a female priest.
We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather today, the Noongar Wadandi Mort. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging.
Scratch the surface and everyone has a story. Welcome, Kaya, to the Wisdom of Women.
Leadership roles and women have often been a cause of debate within religious organisations. But we're thrilled today to have a woman who answered the call to God.
Carol Morgan knew by the time she was 8 that God had a plan for her, and she's here with us today to talk about the incredible journey that she's been on.
Welcome, Carol.
Hi.
Hi, thank you for having me. I feel like it's a little bit of an imposter syndrome here. Somebody's going to tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, what are you doing? But it's lovely to be here with you, Shauna, Sid and Joe, and thank you for having me here.
Thank you.
Well, like Joe said, we are absolutely thrilled to have you here, Carol. I find your journey in life particularly intriguing when we talk about the call to God and the sense that there was a purpose for you. Let's just briefly talk about what is your current role? What are you doing at the moment?
Well, currently I'm retired officially, but my role within the Anglican Church is the formal title is Director of Formation, or so what I do is I'm training clergy to be priests or ministers. Yeah.
All right, so that's quite a high leadership role that you're talking about.
Yeah, it's challenging.
Yeah.
It is. Currently, I've got 10 students of various ages, various genders, training to be clergy of the future.
I love that.
Sounds like an important role.
Yeah, very important role.
Well,
Because
yeah,
God's
it is.
watching you as well, Carol.
Well, I think so, and but I mean, I'm surrounded by a fantastic team, so I work very closely with our bishop and with the archdeacon, and I've got a couple of other people who assist as well, tutors and things like that. So I'm not a lone ranger in this, and working in a team is the best way for me. Best way to work.
Couldn't agree with you more. We're all about the village to raise the woman in this particular case. So let's go right back to childhood, because this is intriguing in the sense that you felt a certain call towards God from a very, very young age. Give us a bit of a background.
Okay, so I guess I grew up with my dad, who always went to church, and there was something about it for me that I always wanted to go with him to church. And I found something, I can't even put words to it, of some sort of inner peace or inner yearning to be at that church with my dad. And when I was 8, I can still remember where I was standing in our passageway, and I turned to my dad and I said, I think God's got a purpose for my life. And that was that. I forgot about that in a way. But as I grew up in the church, and in those days there was no such thing as women priests or women clergy, I began to take on roles that sort of women were allowed to do. So from the age of 12, for example, I was teaching in Sunday school. I'm sorry, that's my phone. That's not God calling.
That's all right. That's not God.
I thought I'd put it on silent.
Oh, Carol, you're funny.
Would you like me to say
I'll tell
put
you
it on
what.
silent for you?
Just,
We'll
yeah,
fix
I'm
that.
Sorry.
No, you don't apologise at all. It's a beautiful tone. If it was
Yeah,
God
it's
calling,
quite
I'd
peaceful.
answer that.
Probably tapping me on the shoulder, say, "Watch what you say." There,
Oh, that's so funny.
I'm so sorry about that.
No, that's all good.
From the age of 12, I used to teach at Sunday school, and then I used to be in the youth synod. I used to do all sorts of things. And I still had this little call in the back of my mind, this little nudge for something more. And by the time I got to, say, 16, looking at leaving school, I've wished, I just couldn't help wishing that I was a boy, because then I would have been able to go to seminary, not from a gender identification way, but because I was denied the opportunity to do what I believed I wanted to do so badly. And I knew that I wasn't called to be a nun because I discovered boys.
I love that.
And I knew I wasn't called to be a missionary because I've got a very weak stomach when it comes to food and bugs and creepy crawlies and things like that. So I wasn't going to be going internationally into, so I did not know what to do with my life and myself. And it was like that for probably until I was 40.
Wow.
And then
So was it a yearning? Did it just sit within you?
sat there in a sense that there was a deeper yearning for something that nothing would satisfy at all. And I remember speaking to my parish priest, who some of you might know was Father Gary Priest. Many of you would know
Gary.
Father Gary.
Yeah.
Character. And he said to me, do you think you're called to be a priest? And I nearly flipped on my back because I had never thought of myself as being a priest, because in my mind, a priest was a priest up there, a male, and it never entered my head. And I said to him, oh, I think so, but I don't know if I want to be, And he said, my dear girl, if you do not accept that call, you won't know any peace in your life. So I took that home to Chris. He was so relieved, because at that point in time, I thought maybe I was called to be a clergy wife. And so I was pushing him to be a priest.
So Chris is your gorgeous husband of 54 years, is
54
it?
years.
Yeah.
Wow.
There you go.
And he didn't have the same calling.
No.
So,
So
thank
he
goodness.
said,
Thank you.
oh, thank God. He said, you have my blessing.
Oh, that's lovely.
Go forth, Carol,
forth,
Chris said. Go forth.
And to be honest with you, within once I'd spoken to the bishop, which was probably 2 weeks later, within 3 weeks, our chaotic life, which was very chaotic at that time,
Oh, wow.
just smoothed right out.
That's
and
amazing.
I knew
So
that it was right.
The waters were smoothed for
Totally
you. God
smooth.
said,
all
now's
that,
the time.
all that turmoil and the storm and all of that smoothed
So
right
when
out.
was this? What
Yeah,
years?
that would have been about 92, 93, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So at that point in time, how many women had been ordained locally, say, within the Anglican Church?
I think I can't remember what year. I think it was year 2000. No, it must have been earlier than that. The first women were ordained in Perth, and so it was 30 years ago. So what would that make it? I don't know.
94.
My maths is not working out. Said you're a young
94.
man. But there was a lot, and I guess it needed to be. There was a lot of sort of pioneering. So the women who were taking the ordination, the movement for the ordination of women was quite, when I say not militant, but
Progressively pushing.
Yeah, and I'm not that. I'm not a pioneer or a progressive pushing person. I'm just quite reticent. So I couldn't reconcile that with what I was feeling, because I didn't want to push myself forward. I just wanted to be. I just wanted it to happen, So I'm grateful to the women who
Came
progressed it, but I certainly didn't have that motivation to do that. But the first woman ordained here in the Diocese of Bunbury was Stella Beecham. I don't know if any of you know her. And she was a friend of mine, and she asked me to be part of the serving at the altar for her ordination. And I didn't know how I stood with this understanding of ordination of women, because I'd grown up in a conservative tradition which put, only men could be priests.
So there was a ceiling, as far as it went for women to a degree.
Yeah, there was, and I, as I say, I didn't want to be seen as being
A rebel.
rebel. Yeah. I just wanted it to smooth. I just wanted my rightful place.
Yeah.
The path to be in front of you, to be able to step along.
Yeah, that's right. So, so on the night just before I went to her service, I was praying about this and saying, God, if this is right, then you've got to let me know. And I was brought straight to a passage in the Bible written by St. Paul, who says, in God's economy, there's neither male nor female, slave nor free, Jew nor Greek. We all equal. So God's not sitting there looking for, where's the best man who can do this job? It's kind of the best person who can do. And so that gave me a real sense of comfort. And that was the sense in which I thought, right, I can accept this now. And I accepted it. But in the beginning, it was really, really difficult. So because there was so much objection and quite aggressive objection to to ordination of women, we really had to push ourselves to be even better than.
That's really interesting. Did you get that sort of negativity from people close to you or within the Anglican Church community? Like, where did it come from?
Yeah, within the community, and many times it was from the women in the community rather than the men.
Yeah.
There were men, some fellow clergy wouldn't take communion if I was serving communion. They just wouldn't take communion from a woman.
Really?
And then there was times when I was training, when I would go to a church to take a service, and I had to phone, say, the matriarch ahead of time and say, I'm coming to take a service tomorrow, so that she would stay home because I was a female coming to take the service. So I had to actually let her know that I'm coming.
Wow.
It was quite hurtful. Yeah. And in those days, we used to have like our retreats. We have two annual conferences as a diocese here in Bunbury. And they always used to have the women take the communion service on a Monday, which was the start day of the retreat, so that the men who weren't comfortable taking communion from a woman would start after the service. So it was.
So they're accommodating that sense of discrimination.
Yeah, it was. It was awful and hurtful, very hurtful, and I guess. I mean, I don't understand the thinking like that. I did have one beautiful, who's still alive, beautiful priest who said to me, I don't believe in the ordination of women, and I won't take communion from you at the moment, but I am open, and if God changes my mind, I will be there. And I thought, I can cope with this,
And that was respectful.
It was
too.
respectful, Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so thank God it's changed now. It's much better. In some dioceses within the Anglican Church, it's still quite strong. It's like, say, the Diocese of Sydney, there's no female priests as such. They can have deaconesses.
Yeah.
And some... it's around the world, there's some of the African countries that don't believe in women's ordination either. And a lot of dioceses will accept a female priest, but they won't necessarily accept a female bishop, because the bishop is in charge, and you can't have anyone in charge of a man.
It's just interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's still today, and this is 2024.
Right. Do you see hope, though, that looking at the progression that has been over the last few decades, that another, 20, 30 years down the track, it may not exist?
I hope so, Shauna. I hope so. The most important thing, I think, is dialogue. You know, I certainly don't expect everyone to have the same opinion as me. And I don't necessarily have the same opinion as others. But if we can stand together and hold hands and mourn our lack of ability to agree, then we've got a place to go. Do you know?
Yeah.
I found it really great to see at the King's coronation there were women in his service. You know, there were a few.
Yes.
Not just one as a
Yes.
token gesture. There were a few. I thought that was
Yes.
fantastic.
Yes.
It's interesting in the Catholic Church, they're still holding firmly
Yes.
on, aren't they?
Yes,
Aren't
they are, Shauna, and it's a different sort of thing altogether because they have the religious, you know, the nuns who are, they've got a place in a way for women, but women who are celibate, women who are signed over to or committed to a religious life. But yeah, I hope.
Yeah.
It's interesting because it does sort of reek of the whole sense of males holding on to an area so strongly, aren't they, in that sense?
Yeah.
And I'm not talking all men, but clearly it's still a strong hold.
Yeah,
Though.
and you know, the thing is that it's those holding that opinion very strongly will misread or misinterpret scripture to back their point. And it's a lot of those with the more of a misogynistic tendency who believe in subordinationism. You know, a woman is subordinate to her husband, and that's what that you know will teach that and hold to that belief. And they're the ones who, you know, women cannot teach a man, and you know, women can only speak when their husband allows them to speak. And there's passages in the Bible that say that, but that was written within a context and a time when women were next to the dogs and cats and chickens.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. We've evolved.
yeah, we have. One would think.
And it's interesting, though, as you say, that sense of misogynistic concepts around the role of women still can be so firmly held in certain areas. But particularly when, as a society now, it's blatantly in our face. Women are equal. So get over it, fellas. Move on.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
But how wonderful for you, because clearly it enabled you to embrace that calling.
Well, that's right. So I am grateful to the pioneering women who did this, but at the same time, I would say I would be happier to say I'm a priest rather than I'm a female priest or I'm a male priest. I'm a priest. Finish. You know, that's it. So I don't know if you get my different, understand the difference, but I'm not the pioneer. You know, I'm a priest.
Like you say, it should just be priest.
Yeah, that's exactly. I'm following my call. Yeah,
Your gender should be totally irrelevant.
Exactly, Shauna. Exactly.
Yeah. And the role of men and women within the church itself, and when we talk about how it should be a balance and we're all equal, and we do meet each other in certain different aspects. So it's a nice balance to have males and females working together.
Oh, exactly. And, you know, I think there's a danger in which the balance could be reverted so that you could have a whole diocese full of women priests and no men, which is just as unbalanced, you know. So it's sort of a complementarity, you know, rather than a challenge. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Talk about the family's role in supporting you with all this. I know that you have a very close family.
Yeah. Oh, look, I think without your family support, it would be a very tricky task, very, very tricky, you know, because it's, as a female, let me explain, well, let me go backwards. If I was a male priest, right, I would go to a conference, my wife would iron my robes and off I go, you know. But as a female, here I'm going to a conference. Now I like to make sure that there's food and I've done the shopping, I iron my own stuff.
Pre-made all the meals, you know.
Not quite. I mean, not that I've got a husband who demands that at all.
No.
But, there's other things to consider. And I had a picture once, and it was like having twin babies, and they both demand breastfeeding at the same time. And which one do you feed or whatever? And it's like that, having a vocation as a priest, a female and a priest, and a vocation as a mum and a wife. And, there's this tension of which one do I feed at this time? Which one demands the most? And to be honest, as a priest, in the way that I was brought up and raised, was you give your life over, so you're not yours anymore. So, if you get a phone call at midnight to go to someone who's dying in a hospital, you just go. You don't say, well, it's not on my watch. I'll wait till the morning. It's that sort of thing. So you're on call almost 24/7. And within the Anglican Church, we're clergy, not just to our own congregation, but in a sense to the community as well. Those who look for a church for times of death or things like that, are likely to go, unless they may be Roman Catholic or something like that. They're likely to go to the Anglican Church, the old C of E, and so we minister to the community as well as to our parish. Yeah. So it's a big gig, quite a big gig. Yeah.
How do you balance that for yourself? Is there parts of you that you just try and keep for yourself and your family? Because that could be so emotionally, physically, mentally draining.
It is, Shauna. It really is. Unless you've got really good boundaries, and it's a tough gig. I'm not very good with boundaries. I just go.
Because you're a big open-hearted woman, aren't you? Take it all on.
Yeah, I have a heart for people. So I've got a very understanding and a wonderful, supportive husband. And children really that have been most supportive and understanding. If it wasn't for that, I don't know. I think it would be really tough. Yeah. So, for myself, I probably put myself last in the sense of, as all mums do, we put ourselves last. And then if you've got two babies, you put yourself last in a way, which is not a good idea. No. Not very wise.
So how do you refresh the energy and the, we all have that little bit within ourselves that we know that we can go to. You've got a great sense of humour. Do you find like laughter and that time with the family kind of refreshes the pot, so to speak?
Yeah, head up to Wendy's.
So Wendy is Carol's oldest daughter.
I thought you meant for an ice cream.
No, not for an ice cream. So two.
So you find that the joy in the
family, grandkids, family. They just in a way rejuvenate or give energy more, give your energy back. I love reading. I love listening to music, and just stuff. I meditate, which is my sort of main focus, the prayer focus these days is meditation.
That sense of mind is interesting because meditation is, I've only been sort of more recently interested in meditation and that sense of quietening the mind, but it's been around for,
it's been around of years. It's experiencing a resurgence in spirituality now. Definitely, there's you get the mindfulness. So in all areas of, whether it's in a secular or in a religious setting, there's meditation has been happening for eons. Right back to the Desert Fathers in the Indian and Buddhists and all the different traditions. Meditation is very important.
Yeah, centering the mind. Yeah, definitely.
And if I can be brave enough, head into the ocean at Kumbana Bay. and just blob.
Yeah. Something about the water, isn't there?
Oh, yeah, there is.
There's
Yes.
just something about just being in there.
Bit of the cold plunge. They
Yeah,
talk about
that's
that
it.
again, releasing some wonderful endorphins to
Yeah, I
reawaken
think
the soul and the
so.
brain.
I think so. Yeah.
Very calm water as well.
Oh, well,
True.
Unless
in
there's
time,
an easterly, it's said, if there's an easterly blowing, it's not that fun, and it brings the stingers in, you know.
Oh. I imagine in your role as a leader, you would have some beautiful younger people coming through. Do you see some younger women, looking towards roles within the church like you've pioneered?
I have one who's just been deaconed, who's an absolute bundle of energy.
Wonderful.
She's just in her early 50, just 50. So she's the youngest probably. So no, there's not many younger women coming through, which is sad, I think. There's lots of people my age who've probably been sitting on a call for a long time, and eventually the cork has been lifted and they're able to offer themselves in a way, but there's certainly not many young people.
Do you think it's a sense of women as they age becoming more aware of themselves and their spirituality? That sense of, I don't know, dawning wisdom or
I think so, Shauna. You know, they say when we get to what's it, about 60ish or something, our focus, we don't want the things so much. We tend to be more spiritually focused, and I think yes, there is a sense in which both women and men of that age are seeking to be, or actually, well, now I've grown my family and I've worked and I'm about to retire. Now I can devote time to God or whatever. And the sense of fulfillment and nurture that they can offer to the church. But when I follow very closely the Church of England, a lot of their sites, and a lot of their clergy women there are in their 20s, 30s.
Really?
Very young. It's lovely. Lovely to see.
That is lovely to see. I find it interesting as well when you talk about, say, science, and as our knowledge of science is increasing, did we see a sense of religion in explaining some of the unknown starting to take, people's ideas and away from religion? How do you see that sitting, science versus religion? Do you not see there any verses? It's all something that works together.
I think science looks for explanations and facts and things like that, whereas religion is more about mystery and unexplained issues. So within, like, if you take, say, the story of creation, for example, there's people who would say, well, the earth was created in 7 days. Didn't you know that? And then there's others who will say, well, it's evolution, but science unlocks something, I think, unlocks an opportunity for investigation, an opportunity to explore the mystery, but it doesn't explain God. You can't explain, describe, or God can only be experienced, I guess.
Yeah,
in that sense.
In many ways, in that sense of you say, what is love? I mean, it's something that is very hard to put words around, isn't it?
Yeah. And certainly in the Greek, the word love has got so many different words that from a Christian understanding, the word love, agape, is a kind of a unconditional love that we would say God offers us, which is a sort of the love that you can kind of have in a marriage relationship or in a very close, but it's not quite. It's not that unconditional love that you have, So Anyway, I don't
All
be going on a
forms of love.
tangent. Yeah.
I know. No. I just find it, I do find it all very, very interesting. And your new role,
Yeah.
how busy is your day with all this? You must be flat out, like a lizard drinking, as they say.
Well, it's interesting because of these 10 students that I've got to say, they come from it's such an eclectic group. You know, some are teachers, some are lecturers at universities, some are, have got other roles where they've done multiple degrees. And trying to form or find a pathway, there's no one size fits all pathway to train up this new breed of clergy. Whereas in the olden days, the clergy all went to a seminary, they all did this together, and that was what was expected, and that's how it was. But today, in my role and what we're doing in our diocese, at least anyway, is to try and find a kind of an individual pathway for each of these different kind of
because individually they bring such a wealth of experience and knowledge and information, don't they?
And some are quite very theologically trained, and others are not. So you can't have the same pathway for those two, So basically, I have 4 intensives a year with the whole group, and they take up a weekend, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we do things there that kind of apply to the whole group. And then we're looking now at, I suppose, we started off calling it a pantry, but I guess it's a toolbox, so that we can have different courses and things within this toolbox that we can steer each person towards. Like if you want to learn public speaking, there's this lady called Shauna Willis who might be able to help you.
Come and help you.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or if you want to learn acrobatics, well, there's this lovely girl called Sid who can teach you how to backbend and so on. But
so there's such an enormous scope when you talk about priests going out into the community, because they quite literally be called on from something so incredibly diverse from one day to the next.
And not so the other thing is that there's this shrinking like communities like in the country that they're shrinking demographically. So where there was a vibrant church 20, 30 years ago, there's maybe 4 people, so they cannot support a minister of their own. So then we have to find someone who can look after multiple centres, who can be comfortable dealing with a conservative, maybe country parish, and then a vibrant city parish, and so on. So multi-skilled or sort of available. That way. Also, we need chaplains for schools. We need hospital chaplains. There's prison chaplains. There's deacons. There's all sorts of different pathways that people can follow as well. So it's tricky. Yeah. So a lot of my time is spent actually researching and finding pathways and doing that sort of stuff. So I do a lot of work from home, and then and contacting the students and working with my team as well. So
when you go out into the community, how do you see it differing from, say, 20, 30 years ago? We talk about society and how we're all evolving. Mm-hmm. Are there aspects of it that you think, say, for example, we talk about maybe the impact of social media, or, do you think people in generally are more kinder? Do you think they're questioning more, like from a religious point of view, from someone who's out there, offering spiritual advice and help? Where does it all sit?
Oh, Shauna, I think people are very unsettled in the world. That's probably not the best word, but people, I think, truth, the question of truth, people don't know what truth is anymore. And so people are seeking in ways that are not satisfying them either. You know, so there's this, and they wonder what's going on in the world. There's this fake news. What do I believe? What don't I believe?
Yeah.
How safe am I? What, you know? So there's this real uncertainty that people are looking for something, and part of what they're searching for, I think, is community, a sense of community, and they find that on the social media a lot.
And it can be a really dangerous community.
Can be.
And when you talk about truth, it used to be that there was your side of the story, their side of the story, and then the truth is in the middle. But now people know my truth.
Yeah,
And it's their truth is the only one that matters, when in
Yeah.
fact it's got to be a balance.
Yeah.
And yes, in social media, sometimes if you go down a rabbit hole, you're off balance.
Yeah.
You're not, opening yourself up
Yeah.
to another
There's
side.
no measure.
Yeah.
It's like a subjective truth, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
So
very
much
subjective.
information, and yet really there's not much clarity.
No,
Yeah,
that's
that's it.
right. Yeah, and it's so subjective, you know, because there's where's the mark? You know,
Yeah.
you go to schools. Where's the mark? Where's the canon or the rule or where's the line in the sand?
Yeah.
Nobody finds it, and I think that's a postmodern kind of where all tradition, everything goes out the window. You know, yeah.
Yeah, so uncertain times.
Uncertain times,
for many.
Shauna. And as I say, I think the independent. You know, it's all about the individual, and I think we need to break that down. I think because it's such a selfish culture.
Yeah.
So selfish.
That's interesting, for us, the wisdom of women sort of was born very much about connecting people back to stories and experience, and it gets back to that connection, that sense of understanding that there's people out there that have experienced things, they want to share that with you.
Yeah.
Do you think that connection is just so vital? I mean, you've spoken about it before.
Yeah. I think what you're doing here with the wisdom of women is there will be people out there who will be feeding off this, absolutely, it will be just resonating with some people out there who are looking for some place where they can feel heard.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, everything's very quick these days, particularly when you talk about sort of mainstream media. There's a lot of clickbait, and it can often be about, subjects or issues that have to be, controversial or...
Yeah.
But really, ultimately, at the end of the day, sometimes it's just nice to sit down and have a conversation that lasts more than 5 minutes.
Well, that's right. That's exactly right. Because I'm sitting here looking at the three of you, and you're all looking at me and listening with intent, which is lovely, and it enables me to actually speak because I get the sense that you want to hear what I'm saying, and if we can offer that gift to other people. And that's all they want.
Yeah.
Just to be heard.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if we can offer that to people, will often. I think that's why our hairdressers and do such. They like the frontline
They
clergy.
know how to get it out
Aren't
of you,
they?
don't they?
That's where you need to go and get new clergy out there. Go and get all the hairdressers indoctrined.
All my hairdressers know I'm an Anglican priest, and boy, we talk the subjects we cover. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. And I remember years ago, probably about 15 years ago or so, the fellow who used to be the dean of the cathedral here, I trained him, and then he became my boss, if you know. So it was lovely. We had this wonderful relationship. And we had a plan that every Friday we would meet at a different cafe in Bunbury in our clergy, in our clerical collars.
Show off.
Show off, deliberately, not to show off, but really to be a presence.
Yes.
And so we would go and sit there, and we would have our lunch, and we would chew the fat. And but the number of people that came up to us and said, it's so nice to see the clergy out and about,
Yeah.
you know. And then we would pray for the establishment. We would pray for all the people sitting around us quietly to us, you know, between ourselves, and just pray a blessing on this place. And then we get up and move and go. And we had it was so much fun. You know?
That's lovely.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
It is, isn't it? That's connecting out with the flock.
But it is, yeah. It's and certainly today I know that people won't come to church. The church has got to go to the people in a way and be, you know, go bless the football boots and you know, whatever, or just go plant the trees with the tree planting group or whatever, you know. Yeah.
That's interesting. I like the way you say that. The church needs to go to the people.
I guess that's how it all started.
Well, yes.
Way back.
Way back.
Yeah.
In the old days.
In the old days.
Before it became institutionalised. Yes.
Was going to the people. And
It was.
talking-
That's
talking
right.
on
It
a
is.
mount.
It's doing a conversation one-on-one.
Yeah.
Where you can offer, you know, just offer people an opportunity to chat about faith, and without any sense of I'm going to be indoctrinated or, you know.
Yeah.
Just, let's talk.
Yeah.
What do you know? Yarning.
Yarning. It's a bit of a lost art.
It is. It is a lost art. Yeah.
So in that sense, we could do away with all the grand old cathedrals and buildings. You'd be just as well served having a little wooden or stone chapel, but the rest of it, you know, or as you say, going out into the community.
Yeah. There's a story in the Bible about the Israelites marching around a church 7 times and then blowing a trumpet on the 7th circle, and the building falls down. Oh. And I can remember in one parish when I because most of the bickering you have is about the building.
Yeah.
You know, and thinking, I think I'm going to just stage a march around.
Do the Israelite march. Sort this out.
Because, you know, the word church really has, people think of a building as church, but church is actually the people. You know, the Bible calls the church the living stones. You know, go out and build.
Yeah.
Share. Yeah.
I like that. Living stones.
Living stones. Yeah. And so the role of the church basically is to offer, or to be an alternative community to that of the world. So a community where that people feel loved and cherished and nurtured, and it's still flawed.
Yeah.
Flawed. We've got a long way to go, but that's the theory.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's the ebb and flow of life, isn't it, in that sense? It's easy for us, I think, to reflect back on ourselves and realise that, no, we maybe didn't do that quite the right way, but we're learning. It's all a journey.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly.
Carol, do you have a favourite quote?
A favourite quote? Yes. You mean for myself?
Or just something that you might quote from time to time?
Or for myself, it is just do it. I've stolen that from Nike because
Nice Nike.
It's a good one to steal.
Because you know, I can sometimes be quite tentative if I'm not sure about what I'm going to do, you know, or sometimes I can get quite lazy and think, I don't think I'll do that now, you know.
I think I'll go and sit on the lounge and have a cup of tea.
And then this little phrase comes in my head, just do it. So I've got it posted all around my house. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it.
Yeah,
you know?
That's great.
Yeah.
Very good advice, something that all women, I'm sure, should hear or understand.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely advice.
Yeah. And I think that everybody's birthright is to be cherished and heard. I think that's everybody's birthright. And if we can remember that everybody deserves to be cherished and heard. If we make that our maxim, I think we'll do okay.
I think we will too, Carol.
Quite lovely to hear.
Very wise words. Thank you, Carol.
God bless you.
If you have enjoyed listening to this episode today, then please subscribe and put on notifications. And we will leave links below if you want to see some more information or click on the links. Thank you so much for coming today.
It's okay.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you for having me, Shauna, Sid, and Joe.
Bless you.
Bless you both.
It's been lovely. It's been really interesting.
Yeah, it has,
Thank you.
isn't it?
Thanks so much.
And always remember,
Every day.
You are remarkable.